A college degree today is 2 times more expensive than what it was in 1980. And as a country, we are $2 trillion in debt just for student loans by itself. Okay, $2 trillion. So the question is college just a scam, or is college even worth it to begin with? Let's go ahead and break it down. So what I did over the last 48 hours was pull together as many stories and research and papers that I could read on the return on investment when it comes to college, because that's what it is. It is an investment of time and money, and if you're going to go, I would argue you should get your money out of it. So the first thing is this: where you go, who you are, what you study, those are really going to have perhaps the biggest impact on whether or not a college degree is going to be profitable for you. If you study the history of dirt, I'm sorry, you're probably not going to get your money's worth, okay? That's just the facts, okay? But we also know that based on, again, who you are, fortunately or unfortunately, does have an impact on what your return on investment is. And we'll break that down by race and by gender too, because it actually does have a difference. And that's something I didn't know going into it, because the return on investment is going to vary between 13% per year and 35% per year. So if we break it down, white men on average get a return on investment by year of 24% for white men. It's about 22% for white women, only 14% for black men, about 13.5% for black women, and then for Asian men it is 35.9%. That is your return on investment for a college degree, and then for Asian women it is 31% on your return on investment. So that's number one. It does depend on who you are, but as a whole, your lifetime earnings, the lifetime earnings for a bachelor's degree right now is 287%. 287%. However, here's the thing that most people miss. I think this is where a lot of frustration around college and student loans comes from. 41%, negative 41%, is your average return on investment in the first 15 years. And this does line up to what I was told as a wee college grad. They said that in your 20s, this is where you learn, right? Your 20s are for learning, your 30s is for earning. And that is probably why they said that, because you're paying off your student loans, you're figuring out your life, you're doing all that kind of stuff, hopping from job to job until you start to specialize right after that 10-year mark or so. And once you hit about year 14, 15, 16, that is when your return on investment starts to become positive, and is usually right around the mark where people start to pay off those 10-year loans for your regular federal student loans that you may have been paying. So that first 15 years is going to be negative. Negative 41% is going to be your return on investment in the beginning. But lifetime earnings, you're going to see a 287% average return on your college degree, which is pretty good. But what about someone who just went straight from high school, started investing in the stock market then, compared to someone who waited 4 years, took out loans, and then started their career several years after someone who started from high school? Well, remember, the return from the S&P 500 before inflation is about 10% per year. Okay, that is an average before inflation. So that's going to be your return. If you started there, you got a head start, which would be amazing if that were you or me or anybody, if you had started there early. However, when you break it out year by year, the average return for someone who graduated from college is about 13%. So you're still going to see a higher return even though you are waiting about 4 years after, depending on how long it took for you to finish that degree. So that is one thing that you do want to consider as well. But one of the perhaps headline numbers is this: the person who graduates with a bachelor's degree compared to someone who did not or just finished high school, it's about $1 million more. You're going to earn on average $1 million more than the person that just graduated from high school, which still to this point says that college is still a worthy investment, or at least one that is going to have you to be profitable. However, the key thing is, depends on where you go, depends on what you study, and depends, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you are in that scenario, that's going to help or hurt those returns as well. So those are the things that you absolutely must consider. Now the question is, well, if I don't go to school, or if I don't need to go to school, like, what does this mean for me? So first, if you don't go to college, you can still be quite fine when it comes to your finances, because at the end of the day, whether you went to school or not, it's all about spending less than what you make and investing that money. It is not going to make a difference if you go off and make $1 million and you don't save a dime. It's not going to matter, right? Or it's not going to matter if you make all that money and have more debt at the end of the day and you're still in the negative. The basics of investing, the basics of finance and just basic math, that's what's going to carry you at the end of the day. And that's probably what's going to matter the most. Also, I've seen clients and people who have finished high school, went to what most people would think is a boring government job, retire early, get a pension, and get real rich, right? That does happen from time to time. You also see this from people who are in the military as well, who perhaps went directly into the military after high school. They got military money, military pension, all those benefits, and then use that to start a business and become wildly successful and really rich as well. So there are paths out there regardless of where you go. However, if you're playing the numbers, if you're looking at the numbers alone, a college degree is one of the easiest paths, or the best paths rather. I would say this, the most common path, let's just say that, it is the most common path to make money and generate enough wealth to retire at the end of the day. Again, I said it was the most common. I didn't say it was the easiest. I didn't say that it was the least stressful or that it was the best. I just said it was the most common. Okay, so that is how you want to look at it. And the last thing I'll add is this. The word scam raises eyebrows, right? And it insinuates that the entire system is specifically there to take money from you. And the majority of colleges are not. Now, yes, there were some colleges, I don't want to throw names and get the wrong name out there, but there were some that didn't give degrees, took people's money, and just like ran off. A lot of them were like online colleges. There is a Higher Place University, which is a fake university that is not accredited, right? Those are scams, okay? If your school is not accredited, it's not real, they're never real campus, all that type of stuff, those are scams, okay? But we're talking your state universities, your Ivy Leagues, your in-betweens, all those type of schools. No, they're not scams. They may be expensive, they may be too expensive, in which I would agree with you, but those aren't scams. They exist to help you to network, which some people just forget the value of. They're there to educate you, and it is up to you. It is up to you to leverage that into getting a job. I haven't seen a whole bunch of colleges that say, hey, look, you come here, you're absolutely 100% going to get a job and be successful 100% from here. That's not what I have seen, at least in my experience. I will say society has told us that. I will say that, I may or may not have heard it from, the adults in the room when I was a kid, but that has not been the case. That has never been the case. But the main thing is, the numbers do show that you can be successful and that it is a positive investment, one that has beaten the S&P 500, but it doesn't mean that you should just go to college and not invest. Okay, you do still need to invest that money and still grow that money because you are earning more than what a college, just more than what a high school graduate would make at the end of the day. But again, remember these are averages. There are plenty of outliers, but I would be careful. I would be careful when it comes to outliers because on social media and on Twitter, which is also social media and all these other places, you're going to see people who say college is a scam, or I'm a millionaire, I didn't go to college, I just have a 8th grade education, or what have you. If that's great, if that's them, right? And if you are an outlier, that's great, but we are not all outliers. We do know, whether it's the Millionaire Next Door is a book behind me, or you can look at the billionaires list from Forbes, the vast majority of them also went to college too. Okay, the vast majority of them, if you want to talk about Warren Buffett, went to, I think it was Nebraska and Penn. You have people who went to college and then dropped out. And if you look at the numbers for those people, that specific set of people who went and then dropped out, their earnings are still higher than those who finished high school alone. So any metric, almost any metric, college is not a scam. It feels great to say because nobody likes paying those student loans, but at the end of the day, the numbers do not show us that. If you want to learn more about just the economy as a whole, what to invest in, how to handle your money better, then you definitely want to check out these videos next.